Hello everyone, good morning. So it's September 7, 2025. Already spring season here in Cooma, New South Wales, Australia. So this recording is actually requested by some of the young engineers from Snowy Hydro. I did a career share this week, and so I did it in person. And there was a request to recreate it in a video recording. So my plan is to upload it in YouTube so it can also be shared with everyone. Okay, so this is my career story, my life story as well, and I hope that you will get some lessons from it. So I am Arlene De La Cruz. I'm the lead civil structural engineer of Snowy 2.0. And as I walk you through my career journey, I'm also going to share with you some life lessons that I had over the past 20 years of my journey as a female civil structural engineer. So why share my story? I think there are a few items here that could be beneficial for the young engineers, especially for female young engineers, where I hope that just simple things from my story will give you some inspirations and also some guidance on how you want to walk through your career. So I have been practicing civil structural engineering for the past 20 years. And looking back as a fresh grad, then I would have never realized that I would be working in one of Australia's largest construction power, especially in hydropower. And as I went through through the 20 years of my career life, there has a lot of changes, shifting industries, and I wouldn't realize that I would be here today without those stories. I am also proud raising my two kids here in Australia, and I will just have to share that my story is not perfect, and of course there's our ups and downs there, but I think this is a one happy story that I want to share with you, and we will go all through the journeys, the challenges, and again the lessons. I want to walk you through the different pillars of my life that I want to actually the focus of my sharing and what shaped me as I am today. So when I say 3 areas of my life, why not just career? Because it's hard to separate these areas. I am my work, I am my relationship, and I am of course my personal self as well. So there are different facets of life that I think are important, but these 3 are my main pillars. So I would structure this structure because I'm a structural engineer. I always love structure, and I want to look at these 3 pillars as my foundation is the personal one, where these are the areas of my passion, my values, and my continuous learning. So again, that is the foundation here, and all other structural elements that composes a building above structure, these are my work and my relationship. My work being in the engineering career, and now working towards leadership. And then the second is that the relationships I have with family, mentors, and trusted circles. When I say trusted circles, these are a very tight-knit circle of friends that I trust, and I love to see them as much as I can, despite busy works. So the lesson here is that I am an engineer. I get to build a lot of buildings and systems, but I think in my entire career journey, the biggest project that I've ever worked on is my life, is my career. So my bottom line, always bottom line framework of thinking here is design thinking. How do I maximize all of the opportunities I have in front of me and design it in a way that I can express myself, practice my values, my passion, and always again chase for those continuous learning. So as the career highlights, I graduated in Mapua Institute of Technology as a civil engineer in 2003, and I've worked in an oil and gas company, American company called Fluor. My project there are more on pipe racks, civil and steel design, concrete design. So that's just the usual this is the usual structural engineering works. And then in 2010, so I get a chance to be assigned in a foreign country where I would design some specific structures for mining project. So again, still with Fluor. So I've stayed there for more than 6 years. And this is my first actually break going outside of the normal culture of Filipinos. And there I learned the collaboration of very multicultural teams. So I love Chile. It's Santiago, Chile, and it's a very long flight. Actually, I still remember that was my first business class flight as well. So that was fun. And then when I graduated so while doing this, building up my knowledge for the civil structural engineering practice, I was also doing my master's degree at University of the Philippines. So continuous learning there. And then when I graduated in 2010, I think it was time for me to grow. So I went to South Korea and worked as a civil structural engineer in an oil and gas company called GS Engineering. And this is another exposure for me where a totally different culture. So South Korea is a very intense workaholic kind of environment. I love working there. The reason why I left early, as you can see in my profile here, I left the same year because the culture did not resonate on my values, where I value work-life balance. I'm also very protective of what happens on the weekend because that's usually where I practice the self-growth. So it kind of didn't resonate. So I look for another opportunity. That's when I moved to Perth, Australia. So in Perth, I joined a company called SKM, Sinclair Nightmares, where later on was bought by Jacobs, another American company. And I was working there as a civil structural engineer for a mining project, mostly for BHP projects. And the move to Perth, it was, I think, the toughest one because when I moved to Chile, this is still same company. And when I moved to South Korea, it was a testing ground. But I know when I moved to Perth, it was a long career projection of move. And Perth is kind of very isolating city. It is considered actually the most isolated city in the world. And that's where I really known the meaning of courage, because being a migrant engineer, it's very difficult when you are alone, when you don't know anybody. It's a complete rebuild of your society, your relationship. So I always thought that it was a good city, and I just need to find the courage always to look at the brighter things, focus on the work, and grow from there. So from 2011 to 2014, it was a good run of career. Unfortunately, in 2014, there was a mining shift, decline of the works. It's always in a cycle, economic cycle of mining every 10 years. So I got redundant, actually. It was also one of the toughest event of my career. I had a little bit of depression where I thought I was so good at what I'm doing. What have happened to my career is I blame myself, and then later realized that it's actually not that. It's a result of combination of economic and also strategy of the company. So it was really tough time. Actually, we were about 800 employees and 400 got redundant. So it's massive shift in my career. But again, life must go on. So I went back to the Philippines to continue my career. While I was moving in different areas, my family stayed in the Philippines because we were still trying to actually check where we would settle long term. So when I moved back to Philippines, actually, I think that was the time when we decided, okay, we're staying in the Philippines. Economy in the Philippines is doing well. So it was also when we decided that we might probably just stay in the Philippines and grow from there, grow the family, grow the career. So I went back to the same company, Jacobs, but this is a satellite company in the Philippines, or execution office, and continue working from there. I've always thought that I would be in the design firm, design consultancy. So from Fluor to EGS to Jacobs, these are all engineering design firms. But a headhunter actually convinced me to shift from design consultancy to being the client. So that is when I moved to First Gen and joined the hydropower group. First Gen is actually also a renewable energy company in the Philippines with portfolio of more than 4,000 megawatts of energy. It's not just renewable, it's also on the clean energy production. So it was a big shift in the mindset, I would say, from design to owner's engineer, because you have to have a different set of thinking when you are from the design team now to the owner's team or the client team. And then I was doing the career progression there when I joined First Gen. I also started actually my PhD. I was chasing knowledge on expansion on where hydropower is. But after these years, I would admit that maybe taking PhD, it was a wrong choice in life, because I never needed that. It was just for me to satisfy myself on how design should be. And there are a lot of PhDs out there. My job as the owner's engineer is actually to direct the project on where it should be in terms of design optimization. So I want to understand what's happening in the deeper side of the engineering, but I realize it's actually not required. I remember once my mentor said, why PhD? Why not just go MBA? Because I am working towards leadership. So I, of course, being stubborn as I am, I said, no, I want to do this. And yeah, did it. And then COVID hit in 2022. So that actually reinforced my decision that really PhD is really not for me. because of COVID, we have to have my family have to have a change in the environment. So we decided to go back to Australia and migrate. So this is when I looked at Snowy 2.0, because if it's gonna be a big move, it needs to have a really purpose of the move. It's not just to go out there and find any job. So that's probably also one lesson that I could share with everyone, that when you try to find work, the work needs to have a purpose in your life, where it is, you view work or your project as like bigger than you, so that it will serve a greater purpose and you will be happily every day to be part of that purpose. So that is what Snowy 2 is actually to me, how I view it. Again, it's a once in a lifetime project. It's a career defining, character building project, because it's one of a kind. It's the biggest one in Australia currently in construction, and it's just a legacy project that I want to be part with. So now that I've been in Snowy 2.0 for the past 3 years, I've decided, okay, maybe it's about time that things have already settled in, and it's about time, yeah, to go back to school. So I am now doing MBA in UNSW AGSM. So I also want to give a little bit of perspective on what we think, how we think, as a migrant engineer, especially as a female migrant engineer. I would consider it is like you're trying to speak the language, but you don't know any words. It's just like you're trying to communicate with the culture, but you just learn as you go. This is also very true in not just on the culture, but also on people. You try to make friends, and you just, some people click, some people don't. So it's in a migrant engineer's perspective, change is very common. We just have to start over and over again, trial and error. The part of homesickness and isolation is also big one. So I always encourage my team, actually, if that you see a new settled engineer in the team, talk to them, make them feel welcome, because there's a lot of things happening on the background of that one person, and we want to make them feel welcome as much as possible, just to make it a little bit better actually for them. Cultural barriers also a big thing. The beliefs are different, the practices are different, the language is different. Sometimes one word is not a synonym of this other word in their own language. So that's very difficult as well to navigate. I would also say that it's always take courage. Just try, and if you don't try, if you don't push yourself, it's just not gonna get through. So success actually comes with courage. And then of course, be very resilient for all those failures and redundancies. Just like what I had experienced in Perth, I've seen also in 2008 the global financial crisis where oil and gas industry was hit. So twice in my career, I've seen the massive recession, and it's a very dark times of career. For individual career, I've seen friends get redundant, but they are actually way better now. Some have moved to different countries. So sometimes it's also actually a blessing in disguise, this kind of events. So I would just say it's not about you, it's about the industry, and you just have to come back stronger and always believe in yourself. So again, growth comes from these challenges. Never stop building your career. You have to have always the courage. be the one to say hi first, work on those collaboration, and then of course always work on those attitude for resilience. So that is the first pillar. That's all about work. The second pillar that I shared earlier is about relationships. So relationship is all about your family and networks. I think also what's biggest part here of relationship is the relationship with yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. I've taught myself how to do that, and I built a lot of discipline. I process all through this, through self-reflection actually. That's why I'm quite protective as well of my after office or weekends, because that is the time where I do my self-reflection of what had happened today, what had happened over the week, and how or why or had happened, and how could I have done it better. So, and how should I grow myself towards improving my relationship to others. Family, of course, is the big one as well. I had a very early motherhood. So I had my first one when I was still in university. So I've learned sacrifice there at a very early stage. And actually my kids now are in uni. And I was really, my proudest moment is actually when they're seeing them grow up and now being very independent and just was able to manage themselves through uni. I would also say that my career would have never been as successful as this without my mentors. So along my career path, I have mentors that really guided me. I actually was the one who sought some mentors because I know that I needed them. There are instances where there are mentorship programs in the company, so I always avail that because guidance from the leaders of the company that has been through there or been there. I just want to know, let's say, how they think and what is actually the best way forward. One of the learnings I had from my mentor is that I've always asked him for answers and he keep on asking me back of what about this, what about that. So sometimes I really get frustrated. It's just like, why won't you not give me the answers? And I later realized it's actually, he's teaching me how to think. So now, everywhere I go, if I have a problem in the office and I need some solutions, I think a lot about the solutions. And when I present it to my boss, I present the problem and the option solutions. So it is not my job to give the problem to my boss. It is actually the boss, also not the boss's job to give you the answers. It is always with you to find the solution and present it to your boss and say, boss, this is option 1, this is option 2, I recommend this. What do you think? The boss will say yes or no. And if there are other let's say inputs that we don't know of because it's on a higher level of perspective thinking in a corporate world, that is where actually the boss comes in when saying no because of this and this. So again, just to be a better employee, it is not your job to ask decisions from your boss. It is actually your job to make your boss life easier. And the bosses will always there to guide you on the decisions, right decisions for the company. So just always make out of the problem the possible solutions and then present it again. And then on the friends zone, so on the friends areas there. So I said I have a very limited friends only circle. It's not that I'm not friendly, it's just I need to protect my brain as well for those external inputs that comes to me. They say that you are the average of the five people around you, so I'm a little bit protective on that one. And then of course colleagues and networks, working with a very multicultural project. Now we have so many languages being spoken in the projects and so many ethnicities, so it's actually a good practice of collaboration and adaptability. Actually, it is also where I practice empathy and humility, because we don't know what's just happening to somebody's life outside outside work. It's like when I approach my counterpart, I ask him his and that, and I wouldn't know that some areas of his life, let's say I have a colleague from Iran, and Iran is currently having some war within different countries. So how are they? I mean, how are their families? I have colleagues who came from Ukraine. I mean, those kinds of relationship goes outside work. Your relationship with your mates actually needs to be deeper than what needs to be delivered. Hey, I need this project done by this afternoon. But before you ask that, it's just like, just feel it, how the person is doing. So the biggest lesson that I've probably learned through the years is like, it's not about just work. Sometimes it's also not just about you. You just have to lose yourself and actually just give what you can give to others, and actually you'll gain back more because they will lift you up as you lift them. So that's how I view relationships. Now, this is the third pillar, which is the passions and the values. When I was doing my life analysis, actually I did that. I asked, it's like, what do I value? And these are the values that I really hold dear to my self. I value authenticity. It is always staying true to myself, because if I'm not authentic, then I don't have anything. Honestly, it's just like, these are my foundations. Courage, just always have the courage, always showing up, even though I am doubting myself. That's fine. I've learned how to start over again, all those moves from different companies. And also I've learned how to speak up. Civil structural engineering is always not just the design. We also go for construction, and sometimes in a male dominated field, especially when you're talking to construction team. So you have to have the backbone on how to speak up. And taking ownership of what I do is one of my values. Not just what I do, it's also what the mistakes I've done. So again, just show up when there's a bad thing happened in the work and there's a mistake in the design. You just have to show up. You have to accept it and show up, and then move on, correct it. And then last but not the least, excellence. Setting standards. Sometimes is it because you want to impress somebody? No, it's actually not that. It's about setting standard for myself or for yourself. It's just it is also a part of integrity, you know. It's just like, what do you do when nobody's looking? Do you do it for yourself or do you do it for others? It's just chasing excellence is always, I think, having a very high standard, because excellence is always, it's also, they say it's not a practice, it's actually a habit, something like that. I don't know if I've got, it's like, so you just have to do it always and everywhere. So yeah, just sharing with you, integrity, excellence, courage, these are the values that makes you a leader. And now as I move towards leadership role in my career, so these are the things that I hold dearly to myself. And again, never ever compromise this. I've sent to the young engineers when I was doing this in person, there are things in life or in career where things happen, so you may burn the work, you may burn some relationships, but this one, the life values, your values, never ever compromise this, because without these values, then you don't have anything. So of course, I'm not always I'm not always as serious as I am in work. Again, I am very protective of my weekend and what does my weekend look like. So I like studying a lot. So that's why I'm doing my MBA, because now I'm in a transition from still technical to leadership. So I just need to find that crossover of proper balance between technical and leadership. So I don't have to always know everything in making decisions. So that's why what is that field actually where you don't know, there are uncertainties, but you still have to make decision. So that kind of thing is what I'm trying to understand for now in my career. So that's why I'm studying my MBA. And then podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks. So I also have a lot of physical books in me. When I'm talking about when I talk about books, I'm not talking about technical books. I'm talking about self-development books, because or leadership books or management books, because that is where the growth needs to be. And then of course I have to celebrate life as well. So I like karaoke, and it's not shopping, actually it's window shopping. I have mentioned that I can't always buy in Amazon. I don't have money, so that's why, yeah, window shopping is also good. And I don't take honestly myself that seriously. I loosen up on weekends and just enjoy life, go for a walk. It's spring outside, a lot of blossoms happening, so it's really really beautiful outside. So yeah, that's what weekend is. So just to wrap it up, actually these are the three areas of life. Again, work, relationship, and your personal, meaning your values. And just want to have another framework to share with you on how I view life. So I would call it structural engineering analogy. So they say in the structural engineering, you have the external forces. You design the building and then check its capacities, and always the capacities should be greater than these load combinations or load or forces that comes to this structure. That's how safety in design is. So I would consider work and relationships are external components, and then your personal is the internal component. That's why I put here on the bottom as again lesson, your internal strength should always be greater than those external forces. The work and relationships are the shapes are the forces that shapes you outside, but it's actually your internal strength that will keep you always grounded and standing, always balanced. So again, always work on those personal, especially the values. Work on that. I think that is also what the true work is. When we say work, is it really doing the calculations, doing the design? I think that's just the surface. That's a superficial work. The work is actually on this area. Every time you go to the office, how are your relationships? How are your internal work with yourself on approaching your, let's say, your disappointments, your frustrations? I'm still in work in progress on that one as well. But that I think is the biggest work. And work office is just a platform on how you do this personal work. Okay, last one. So conclusion. Message to the young engineers. So as I said earlier, excellence or greatness, chase that and everything will follow. Don't chase salaries or career positions or promotions. The management will see that. Just do what you can do the best way you can every single moment, not just on work, but also on your life, and everything will follow. And also on the personal side, know what you want, specifically the things that you need to make the growth. Always know that. Always be prepared in every scenario. Again, not just on office, but also in life. One common example, when you go to a meeting, don't just go there because you've been asked to go there, or you're part of the invite. So it's not that. When I say always be prepared, do some reading first before going into the meeting. If your boss asks you to be there, take some notes and share that notes to your boss, and also share some insights. Contribute to the meeting. So don't just be a wallpaper there, just, listening, and then after the meeting forget everything. That's not a good practice. And then also another lesson: build relationships with your colleagues at work. They are also people. And find a good mentor. I think this is big one. Having a good mentor will help you a lot on your career and your trajectory. It helped me actually on my leadership style. I've seen so many bosses, and I know what I want and what I don't want when I do my leadership. So, and actually I've asked my mentors so many times. I have different mentors as I move across different companies, and the mindset that the mentor can give you can always be so is the one that will catapult you actually in your career. I remember I have a mentor. She was one of the executives in KPMG, and I was doubting myself because I am a migrant. English is not my first language, and I was practicing engineering here in Australia, and there are sometimes thoughts that I'm not good enough, because it feels like I'm just a second class citizen. But she asked me, it's like, where did you get that idea? You are more than enough to do and perform this. Just like, that gave me power and belief in myself to do what I needed to do in the job, and do the things to influence others and do the same. So this is what a mentor can really give you. So find a mentor that is really interested in helping you and growing you. And last but not the least, again, never ever stop believing or in yourself, and never ever stop learning. So always chase learning. Be a life student. So this is where my practices got me here, and I hope I was able to share some stories and lessons to you to help you guide through your career journey.